All right, so we're going to change gears a little bit and talk about sexual assault now. Sexual assault can include anything from unwanted touching to full out rape or forcible sodomy. The effects of sexual assault can be pregnancy, STI, physical injury, but also sexual assault, even if it does not include completed rape, can lead to PTSD. Patients who have been sexually assaulted may experience self-harm, flashbacks, depression, substance abuse, dissociation, eating disorders, sleep disorders, disturbed family relationships, and suicide. So sexual assault is an assault on a person's, on what is for many people their most intimate personhood. It is invasive and terrifying for many people. And so it has a lot of really negative effects. After an assault, someone may go through several phases of recovery. Some people actually don't ever make it through this process, and they continue to have severe negative effects throughout their lives. It's not something that people actually get over, but it is something that people can get through, and we may be in the position of helping people to move through these phases. In the acute phase, people may be fearful of it happening again. They may be angry. They may be humiliated because their control was taken away. They may have physical reactions like nausea, vomiting, headache. They may blame themselves. So there's a lot of things going on in the immediate aftermath of a rape or sexual assault. Most people move into a period of what appears to be adjustment afterward. They may deny their feelings. They just want life to go back to normal. They may deny the need for any counseling or help. That typically doesn't work. Denial is not very effective, and they usually end up beginning to see some cracks in that wall that they've built. Reorganization is making some life adjustments. They've accepted this happened. I can't change it. What can I do to get through it? They may experience sexual dysfunctions. They may not be able to have consensual sexual interactions, or they may engage in risky sexual behaviors. Promiscuity, a lot of times is, for one thing, promiscuity is a very stigmatizing word, but having a lot of sexual partners is a lot of times seen as evidence that a rape did not happen, but it can actually be a response to sexual assault. It can be an attempt to take back their sexuality that was forcibly taken from them. They may have nightmares or flashbacks, or they may want to talk about it. Over time, if someone actually addresses these feelings and deals with them, then they may be able to integrate the experience into their life history and begin to feel safe again. But they will never be the same as before they were assaulted. And that is really tragic considering the number of people who are assaulted. So I want to look for a minute at what real rape looks like. We kind of have this image of a stranger jumps out of the bushes with a knife or a gun and rapes someone, or in the back corner or whatever. Stranger rape is actually the least common. 8 out of 10 rape victims or people who've experienced rape know their rapist. 93% of juvenile victims know their rapist. Rape is not always forced. It can be by physical force. It can also be by coercion, by using psychological force, such as threatening other people, threatening exposure, threatening to remove something that the person really is valuable to them. And it can also be through using someone's inability to consent to have a sexual act with them. And so that would be someone who is either too young to consent. Minors are considered too young to to consent. The age of consent varies by state, but even if a person below the age of consent, even if they are the aggressor, they do not have the ability to make that decision. Okay, so someone too young to consent, but also another common method of removing the ability to consent is through drugs. The most common drug that is intentionally used to assist rape is alcohol. And I say intentionally because we also have gotten a lot of messaging about campus rape. And the message is kind of that most campus rapes are gray areas, that both people just got too drunk and didn't really know what was going on. The reality is that very, very often rape in that context, whether on campus, at bars, in social context, very, very often one person deliberately gets the other person drunk in order to decrease their inhibition so that they'll consent or not be able to refuse sex. So alcohol is the drug that is most commonly used to intentionally assist rape. Date rape or acquaintance rape is very common. It's when someone is known to the victim, someone known to the victim. They may be on a date. They may have been on a date with them previously. It may be a friend or a friend of a friend or a family member of a friend who decides they have a right to that person's body. We also need to be aware of sexual abuse by medical or helping professionals. That's actually been in the news this year or last year with the U.S. gymnastics team. The team doctor was sexually abusing multiple athletes over multiple years. And that's not the first case like that. There have been other cases where medical or other helping professionals like psychologists, nurses are using that power to coerce sexual behavior out of people in their power. The sexual abuse of vulnerable people, children and people with disabilities. Again, this is about power. This is about someone who has power using that power over someone else to get their sexual needs met. Sexual assault can take place between intimate partners, and that can be by force, by coercion, or by wearing down. Some other forms of assault, aside from outright rape, are sexual harassment, stalking, and using technology. So, and it can be things like grabbing, touching. It can also be things like making sexual comments. Frequently that happens when others are not around. And so if the person who is being sexually abused speaks up, if they're being sexually harassed, they speak up, a lot of times they're not believed because other people are not hearing what's going on. Abusers are very good at picking their moment. They're very good at choosing their victims carefully, for one, but also at choosing the face that they show to others. So rape is not necessarily the stranger in the bushes. It's much more likely to be someone that that individual knows. We're going to come back in the next section and talk about trafficking, which also doesn't look like you think it does.